Are you wondering how to make friends in Tacoma, Washington? This is a question that I get all the time, not just because I have this website, Tacoma.com, that's been helping people relocate to Washington and to Tacoma in particular for the last 10 years, but I've been a real estate agent in Pierce County for 20 years. So I definitely understand people moving to a new community and saying, like, where are my friends at? I will say though, it's not just people who are moving here. It's also people who just live here. Like you go through different stages of life and you find yourself now needing like other parent friends, or maybe all of your friends have become parents and you need other unchilded friends, right? Like there's all these different needs, reasons that we might need friends. So I wrote this blog post called How to Make Friends in Tacoma, and I decided to just make a video kind of breaking down all the different categories. And it's a long one, so just buckle in. So I grew up out in Pierce County, South Hill, Graham, Spanaway area. If you know, you know. But I moved to Tacoma and then back to the county and then back to Tacoma a couple of times at various points in my life. And when I moved to Tacoma the last time, I talk about change of phase of life. I had just gotten divorced and I wanted to make friends in the city. And I remember just like walking around downtown Tacoma and like seeing people in bars, having conversations and knowing people. And I remember just thinking like, wow, how do I plug in? So that was many years ago now. And I have some tips. So, the first place that I really connected with friends in Tacoma proper was through co-working. I'm self-employed, so I just hung my shingle in a local co-working office downtown. That co-working office no longer exists, but good news, that was the only one back then. And now there's tons of co-working offices in Tacoma. So, for example, there's the Union Club and Surge and the Pioneer Collective. They're all at kind of different ends of downtown. If you look into them, there's different kind of focuses and cultures in each one. But co-working is just such an amazing way to sort of passively build relationships with people and turn those into friendships. Now, obviously, if you have to go into the office, this is a harder one. But if you're work from home, if you're self-employed and you're new to town and you want to make friends, co-working, co-working's where it's at. Okay, so the next place that I would definitely advise looking for friends is Tacoma Bars. And obviously, this is going to vary. Your results may vary based on whether or not you like going to bars, whether or not you drink alcohol, cultural stuff about what kind of bars that you like. I mean, I understand the bars are not for everybody, but for me, moving to Tacoma, 28 years of age, bars ended up being a place where I met some of my favorite people in town. And, I might be Delulu, but I do believe that Tacoma does not have the Seattle freeze. I find Tacomans to be generally pretty warm and kind of return what you're putting out there. So I I recommend bars. In particular, I recommend Doyle's Pub as a friendly Tacoma bar. They're open 365 days a year, and that helps a lot. Maybe you want to make friends on Christmas. Maybe you're not going home for Christmas. You can always pop into Doyle's. That has worked for me in the past. I find the Parkway in Stadium to be a very friendly bar, especially on Mondays. They have Randall night, and it feels like half the neighborhood turns out there. I lived in the apartment building above the Mix when I first moved back to Tacoma, and actually I've lived there several times. It was I've always found the Mix to be like an incredibly warm and open place. It is a queer bar, so if you're not a member of the queer community, be respectful if you are engaging there. But just understand, like, that is one of the best places, first to sing karaoke and second to make friends that I found in town. My next suggestion for making friends in Tacoma is volunteering. And I think what's nice about volunteering as a way of making friends in Tacoma is that uh, you're there doing something good to help the community, and you're making friends with other people who are also there to do something good for the community. So it's a win-win on all fronts. I kind of asked around at what everybody did to make friends, which volunteer things people did in my friendship circle. And pretty universally, people recommended volunteering at the Grand Cinema Cafe. So the great thing about volunteering at the Grand Cinema is like you get to do concessions, you get to sell candy, you get unlimited popcorn, and you get to be like face to face with like hundreds of Tacomans every day. I mean, I think the shifts are only a few hours long, but it's one of the really great ways to sort of connect with a really good cross section of people. So definitely don't sleep on volunteering for the grand. I would also suggest the Humane Society of Tacoma. You can apply there if you have at least 6 hours a week. If you're into dogs, if you're into cats, the Humane Society does have opportunities for people to come in. I have a friend that would go in and just clean up after the cats and just cuddle kitties all day. And that is a pretty good way to make friends. Other people who like cats. You can't beat that. Just think about what it is that you love to do and how you might connect with people. I know a lot of folks have been going around with a group called Oscar's Enemies, and they clean up trash in a different neighborhood in Tacoma every few weeks. I mean, that's an incredible thing to do. If you like a little bit more glitz and glam, almost every single nonprofit in Tacoma does some kind of fundraiser, and they always need people to hand out programs, set up, take down. Like, there's literally an unlimited number of ways to connect with the community. So, aside from volunteering, there are tons of other organizations in Tacoma that you can get involved with that are looking for people to join them, that are also looking for friends. And I made some notes here of a few of my favorites. The Tacoma Lawn Bowling Club, they came on the podcast recently and they were saying, we're always looking for new members. They meet at the lawn bowling green out at Wright Park, right between Stadium and downtown. And they do classes every April through Metro Parks. And you can come in and get, taught the rules of the game and learn the sport. And if you don't want to do that, they're pretty chill if you just drop in. If they have bandwidth, they're going to teach you how to play. So Tacoma Lawn Bowling is a really great place to pop in and make friends. Another one is the Puget Sound Plungers. And I know this one's a little edgy. Not everyone wants to walk into the freezing cold Puget Sound semi naked with a bunch of other people. But some people are into that. And if that sounds like you, the Puget Sound Plungers is plunging multiple times a week all year long. So you could just follow them on Instagram or go to their Facebook group and they will let you know when you can join them. They're very welcoming. Another group that is similar would be the Tacoma Bicycle Club. They do rides all around the area of varying levels of difficulty. And they're all about promoting bike safety and promoting communities through bike riding. So that's another one that is an organization that's just looking for people to join up. There's other organizations like the Tacoma Tool Library or Second Cycle, where you can just volunteer and just help other people do the thing and just be there for others if that's your thing. There are so many organizations in town that need people. We're not like cities where, I know sometimes in big cities, you kind of have to know somebody to get involved in some of these groups. And for the most part, Tacoma is just not like that. Like pretty much everybody needs people to join their group. I am not the most athletic girly on the planet, but I know some people really like to connect with people through sports and through getting out there and doing adventurous things. And for that, we have lots of opportunities in Tacoma. For over 14 years, the Tacoma Runners have been meeting every Thursday and every Saturday. They do a 3-mile run during the week, followed by a trip to the bar and a 5K every weekend. So that is a great group. I did a run with them once. They were very friendly and very welcoming, even though like I'm not like much of a runner and Tacoma has a lot of hills and a 3-mile run can be kind of intense if you're not used to running up hills, which I was not. But they were super nice. They don't leave anyone behind. They put someone at the tail of the group and then it's designed really for people to meet other people. So the Tacoma Running Club is a wonderful way to plug in if you're new to town. Another one kind of in that vein would be like the Comeback Sports Adult Intramural League. They are always looking for people. They have, I believe, 6-week seasons. So you can join up. It's kind of a limited time commitment. They provide everything. They provide the equipment. They provide the referees and all that kind of stuff. And they have a bunch of different sports like baseball, softball. I think they have rugby. They have, a bunch of different things. Another one is there is a queer intramural sports league as well. I believe it costs $100 to join up with them. And there are obviously YMCAs all across Tacoma. I know in every community, the YMCA is not necessarily the best place to be, but our YMCAs are super well funded and have tons of cool classes. They're designed with making community connections in mind. That's part of their charter. So joining the YMCA in your local neighborhood is a great way to meet other people. Okay, I get it. Not all of us are the outdoorsy type. Just because we live in the Pacific Northwest does not necessarily mean that we want to be climbing mountains or running the streets of Tacoma. I get it. So there are a lot of ways to plug in with people indoors. And, for the more like introvert adjacent friend makers, we definitely have some great options. So Creative Colloquy, which is very hard to pronounce, is the local like literary group. They read books, they do open mics, they publish poetry and different works of fiction. They're a really incredible group. They've been around in Tacoma for over 10 years. And that is a really wonderful place if you're like a creative person or a literary person or an open mic person to connect in with Tacoma. Along that line, King's Books, our local independent bookstore that's right between the Stadium District and downtown, next to Doyle's, actually. They are an incredible place to connect with the community. They hold different kinds of events like Tacoma's for Lovers and craft things. They also do author events and book clubs. It's just a really wonderful place to connect with other book lovers. Um, if you're more of like a fun indoors gaming kind of person, the Triple Knock on 6th Ave, we have multiple places where you can go play different kinds of like pinball and arcade games, but Triple Knock is a really wonderful place. It's 21 plus. They have tons of beers and tons of pinball machines, and they even have regular tournaments. So that kind of thing is designed to encourage people to mingle. If you lean more towards the nerdy and nerdy adjacent category, if you're into D&D, Warhammer, playing board games with your friends, there are tons and tons of places in town where you can do this, and they are set up to get people to come together. And I consulted a couple of my favorite nerdy friends, and they recommended Terracracks and Silver King Games. One's on South Tacoma Way and one's downtown. So those are both great places to plug in if you want to play some D&D. So I can hear you saying, okay, Marguerite, I hear what you're saying, but I have kids. I can't be going to bars and making friends, and I can't be leaving them with a babysitter so I can go volunteer and make friends. This all makes sense to me. And don't worry, I thought of this as well. I have a ton of kid friendly ideas here for parents trying to connect with other parents and their kids. The first suggestion is obviously the Tacoma Children's Museum, especially if you have young children. It's an incredible space. They have a pay what you can policy. So even if your budget is a little bit tight, you can always take your kids to the Children's Museum and you will meet other people who are taking their kids to the Children's Museum as well. Metro Parks in Tacoma I mean, the way that Metro Parks is funded means we always have extremely nice, well funded parks and amenities. So they give classes, they have like the Tacoma Nature Center, they have all these different places where you can go and take classes or have events for your kids. Just go to the Metro Parks website and check out the event schedule because they always have something going on that is kid friendly. Recently, there has been the formation of a Tacoma Dads group. So if you're a dad with kids and you want to go hang out with other dads and have your kids hang out, that is definitely something you can do. They also have dads only nights where the dads just get together and talk. I have no idea what they talk about. In Oscar's Enemies is another great one for parents with kids to meet other parents with kids. It's very kid friendly to go around to different neighborhoods and pick up trash. I know that is a favorite for many of my friends and their families. Another question that I get a lot is, hey, Marguerite, like I'm a member of the queer community. I'm a member of the LGBTQIA community. Where do I plug in Tacoma with my people? In Tacoma, like even though we're a small city, only a couple 100,000 people, I think we're very well represented with different like queer organizations. And so I have quite a variety here. Obviously, the first place to start when you come to the community is to go to the Rainbow Center. In addition to events and workshops and various kinds of community support, like they are just the place where everybody plugs in the queer community in Tacoma. If you are a youth or you have a youth, next door to the Rainbow Center is Oasis Youth Center. And they have all kinds of community events and support and mentors for queer youth. It's an incredible place, and you definitely don't want to miss that. And if you are a queer adult, you might consider volunteering and supporting Oasis. If the bar scene is your thing, we have two main bars that are LGBTQIA focused, and they are The Mix and Club Silverstone. And they're both located like a block from each other in downtown Tacoma towards the St. Helens neighborhood. The Mix is kind of tiny, but they have karaoke and they have a good vibe and they have great drinks. The Silverstone is much larger. They have entrances from two different streets. They're so big and they're on multiple levels. They have a dance floor. They have pool. They have a giant bar with tons of seating. And it's a really great place to go if you have a big crowd or if you're hoping to meet up with a big crowd. Like there's just a little more spacious at the Stone. Okay, so maybe you're looking for friends in Tacoma and you're like, I'm queer, but I don't just want to go to the nonprofit and I don't just want to go to bars. We do have some other options right off the top of my head. I can share Cheer Tacoma, which is a nonprofit group that, gives back to the community through cheer. And that is an incredible place to go. There's also a queer intramural league and a queer mountaineers if you're more about the physical activity or getting out into nature. I hope that this video about how to make friends in Tacoma has been helpful for you. Like I said, there's a lot more information and a lot more links to all of the different places and organizations that I've been talking to, and a few more over on the blog. Just search for how to make friends in Tacoma. We'll also put it in the description. I really appreciate you making it this far. Please check out movetotacoma.com for everything you need to know about finding your place in the city of destiny. We have a podcast where we interview people who live in Tacoma about what they like about the community and what they don't, and different organizations they're involved in. We cover politics, we cover all kinds of stuff. In addition to that, we have the blog where we cover different aspects of Tacoma life as well as real estate stuff. And speaking of real estate, the way that we pay for all this is I help introduce people to real estate agents. So if you're thinking about buying, if you're thinking about selling, I'd love to get to know you and then maybe recommend a real estate agent that has expertise in what you're doing. Thanks so much.
Book.com.